What's the most wonderfully weird character you've ever encountered in a tabletop game? Maybe the kind of NPC that sticks with you long after the session ends.
Huh, that's a good question. Just the other night, actually, my players stumbled into this crumbling wizard's tower.
Oh yeah, standard stuff.
Not quite. Instead of the usual dusty tomes and, cobwebs, they found this gnome, and he was strapped to a giant, overly complicated contraption.
Quite contraption.
Yeah, powered by hamsters on tiny treadmills, seriously. This gnome insisted he was a temporal harmonizer,
Integral harmonizer, right?
and he claimed he could predict the absolute best time to harvest blueberries.
Blueberries. Right.
He spoke only in riddles, kept offering my players these slightly bruised berries as payment for adjusting his chronometer.
That sounds amazing. Completely unpredictable.
It was totally out of left field, yeah.
Yeah.
But my players spent a good 20 minutes just trying to figure out if he was a genius or insane or maybe both.
That's fantastic. And it really highlights why we're taking a deep dive today, doesn't it? We're looking into a resource that's all about injecting that kind of unexpected brilliance into games.
Exactly.
It's the 100 Prisoners with Unique Skills in a Magical Dungeon random table from LitRPG Reads.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to unpack this article, explore how it can offer you, the listener, a really fantastic shortcut to creating truly memorable characters.
Yeah, think of it as a shot of pure creative inspiration for your next session, maybe.
So this article on LitRPG Reads, it's essentially a treasure trove for game masters, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It tackles that perennial need, the one we all have, for interesting non-player characters.
Right. Finding unique ones can be tough sometimes.
It really can. So this presents 100 distinct individuals. Each one is imprisoned within a magical dungeon, right? And possesses a very specific, often delightfully strange skill.
It sort of reframes the whole idea of a dungeon then, not just a dangerous place, but maybe a bizarre holding facility.
Exactly. Full of untapped potential for interaction, for narrative.
What I found particularly clever is the structure. How it breaks down these 100 prisoners.
Oh yeah, the themed tables.
Right, into those themed D20 tables. It lets you target your inspiration based on, well, wherever your players are exploring.
Mm-hmm. You got sections like the enchanted library, perfect for those arcane settings.
Then the alchemist's quarter, brimming with volatile possibilities, I imagine.
Definitely. And the illusionist's wing for encounters that, play with perception.
There's also the elemental chambers for characters tied to raw forces of nature.
And even the celestial conclave for when things get a bit more cosmic.
And then, of course, the full D100 table if you just want pure randomness.
Precisely. It gives you options. So if your players are delving into some forgotten library, you can focus right on the enchanted library table.
And find a prisoner whose skills and quirks kind of align with that theme.
Exactly. Or, if you want to be truly surprised, you roll on the comprehensive D100 table and just see what unique individual the dice deliver.
The core idea seems to be providing these concise sparks of creativity, things you can then build on.
Yeah, build into engaging encounters, maybe whole story threads. What's really interesting about this approach, I think, is how it gives you these almost archetypal roles. The librarian, the alchemist.
Familiar figures.
Right. But then it immediately twists them with a specific, memorable flaw or some unexpected ability.
It almost forces you, as the GM, to think about the why behind that trait.
Totally. And how it might impact the game world, how it impacts the player characters.
Okay, let's maybe delve into some specific examples to really show the kind of ingenuity here.
A good idea. Where should we start? The library.
Yeah, the enchanted library section. Imagine encountering a wizard, right? But he could only communicate through perfectly constructed anagrams.
Huh. Okay, trying to get crucial information from that guy. That's
Yeah.
an immediate challenge.
Exactly. An engaging puzzle right there.
Yeah.
Or picture a librarian who has this, encyclopedic knowledge of every book ever written,
There's always a but.
but constantly misplaces their own spectacles. That simple irony, it just creates an instantly relatable and memorable character.
It really does humanizes them, even in a magical setting.
And then there's the bookbinder whose enchanted creations recite poetry, but with a rather pronounced lisp.
A lisp, that's brilliant. It's a detail that adds this unexpected layer of humor. And it makes you ask, what's the story behind the lisp?
Okay, so shifting gears from the arcane knowledge of the library, let's talk about something maybe a little more volatile.
The alchemist's quarter. Sounds promisingly chaotic.
It really does. Here you might find an alchemist who specializes in distilling laughter potions.
Oh no, the kind that leave you doubled over with uncontrollable giggles.
Exactly. Think about the potential there, both for, Humorous mishaps, but also maybe strategic uses in a tense situation.
Definitely. Or consider an inventor whose constant companion is a clockwork owl.
Okay, a clockwork owl.
And it offers surprisingly sage advice, but only regarding the proper brewing of tea.
Tea time advice from a clockwork owl. It's the unexpected specificity that makes it so delightful, isn't it?
It really is. And then you have the potion maker with a mischievous streak. Their concoctions often result in temporary, slightly embarrassing side
Like
effects.
what kind of side effects?
Like sprouting pigtails. Things like
Pigtails. Right. See, these aren't just randomly funny characters. They have this inherent potential to influence the game world in tangible ways.
For sure. A misplaced potion could change everything.
Now, the illusionist's wing takes this whole concept of unique skills into the realm of perception, of deception.
Messing with the players' heads. Always fun.
Totally.
Yeah.
Imagine an illusionist who can conjure sarcastic duplicates of themselves.
Sarcastic duplicates. Constantly providing unwelcome commentary on the player's actions.
Exactly. That's a character who could be both a comedic foil and a strategic challenge. How do you deal with that?
Good question. Or how about a juggler whose performance involves flawlessly juggling illusions of celestial bodies?
Oh, wow. That's a visually striking image. Inherently magical. Could be tied to prophecies, maybe astronomical events.
Absolutely. And then there's the shadow dancer. Their very shadows seem to possess a life of their own, silently telling intricate stories on the dungeon walls.
These concepts really open up possibilities for encounters that aren't just about combat, right?
Definitely leans into intriguing puzzles, social interactions.
It makes you think about how often we, maybe as GMs, default to more straightforward challenges.
And these illusion-based characters really encourage exploring other avenues of gameplay.
Okay, moving into the elemental chambers now. Here we find prisoners whose skills are tied intrinsically to the fundamental forces of nature.
But again, often with a surprising twist, I bet.
You got it. Picture a pyromancer whose devastating fireballs always conclude with the conjuration of a perfectly formed flaming top hat.
A flaming top hat. That's bizarrely theatrical. Adds a unique flavor to combat, for sure.
Or consider a hydromancer who can summon sentient water droplets.
Sentient water droplets.
And they have a penchant for trying out their stand-up comedy routines on anyone who will listen.
Stand-up comedy water droplets. That blend of elemental power with a mundane, almost absurd personality trait. That's what makes these characters so compelling.
Yeah, and what's particularly effective here is how these elemental abilities often seem tied to a specific personality.
Right. The pyromancer with the top hats probably has a flair for the dramatic.
And the hydromancer with the comedic water droplets likely possesses a more lighthearted, whimsical nature.
It's not just about what they can do, but how they do it. That's what makes them truly interesting.
And finally, we get to the celestial conclave. This brings a touch of the divine, the cosmic, to our imprisoned population.
Again, I assume, with wonderfully specific skills.
Naturally. Imagine a celestial bard whose musical performances have the literal ability to dispel despair, uplift the spirits of those who hear them.
Wow, that's potentially a powerful ally, especially in overcoming emotional or psychological challenges in a game.
Definitely. Or consider a warlock whose imp familiar has a peculiar habit. It tweets celestial gossip.
Tweets celestial gossip, offering cryptic, maybe valuable information gleaned from the higher planes.
Exactly. And then there's a solar cleric whose blessings are always accompanied by enthusiastic sun salutations.
Regardless of the time of day, or whether they're indoors.
Apparently so. It's taking these grand, almost archetypal figures and just grounding them with very specific, often humorous quirks.
If you think about the potential impact, that bard who can dispel despair could be absolutely crucial in a dark moment for the players.
True.
And the gossipy imp might hold the key to some long-forgotten secret, even if you have to wade through layers of celestial rumors to find it.
And the sun-saluting cleric. It just offers a memorable, maybe slightly eccentric way for players to receive divine aid.
So it really stands out across all these examples, for me at least, is that these unique skills and quirks, they aren't just random window dressing.
No, they immediately suggest possibilities. Unexpected alliances, interesting interactions.
Yeah, that wizard who speaks in anagrams. He might hold the key to deciphering an ancient text the players desperately need.
Or the potion maker with the prankster tendencies. Maybe they possess a crucial ingredient, but getting it involves navigating a series of, well, humorous mishaps.
The article itself even highlights this, right? That these prisoners can serve as allies or adversaries or even just enigmatic puzzles for the players to unravel.
That librarian who keeps misplacing their glasses might inadvertently have a vital clue tucked away somewhere.
Or that scholar mentioned who blurs the line between fiction and reality. They could unknowingly reveal a hidden truth.
This is where the resource really shines, I think, transforming what could be a simple dungeon crawl.
Into a series of potential narrative threads. Each prisoner represents a story waiting to be discovered.
And it's not just about serious plot points either. The inherent humor in many of these concepts, that can be a fantastic way to inject levity into your game.
Oh, yeah. Create those memorable moments that your players will talk about long after the session is over.
So wrapping things up, the key takeaway here seems pretty clear. The 100 prisoners with unique skills in a magical dungeon random table on LitRPG Reads. It's just an incredibly valuable tool.
For sure. For anyone looking to enrich their tabletop RPGs with imaginative, engaging characters.
It's packed with these wonderfully quirky individuals, each one possessing a unique skill, and, crucially, the potential to spark countless story possibilities.
Absolutely. So a big thank you is definitely in order to Lit RPG Reads and Paul Bello, a fine fellow indeed, for creating such an imaginative and immediately useful resource.
Couldn't agree more. If you're seeking a burst of inspiration for your next game, or maybe even just a fun read, we highly recommend checking out the full table.
Yeah, and all the other great content over at Lit RPG Reads too.
And for you, our listeners, we'd love to hear about your experiences with this kind of thing. What's your take on incorporating unique and, let's say, quirky characters into your games?
Yeah, head down to the comments and share your thoughts, maybe some favorite examples you've encountered or used.
Because ultimately, isn't it often those unexpected characters, those seemingly minor details and surprising encounters?
That really weave the most memorable and lasting threads into the fabric of our shared stories.
Yeah.
Definitely something to consider.